Which key did I press to not have my mic on? Like, what? Alright, so we're gonna look into a one conveyor system here. And this is not how you usually do conveyors, right? You would have a conveyor for each box. And that's not what I prefer, because that means it's a lot of setup. It can be simple, like one box can be items. You know, you can set up categories instead of each. I think that is very efficient. But when it comes to, like, when you choose weapons, then you get your guns, but you also get your clubs, and you get all these cleavers and things like that that are not really where you want them. Because clubs and cleavers are good for farming roads. They're not made as weapons to do PvP. Like, so it's not quite it. Although I like having just a few of these. My goal really is to have a system that has very low electricity. As you can see, we have a small battery, so it's a low profile in the base. We have one solar panel powering all of this. So that's low profile. You can have a base in the woods, which I prefer. That way minicopters can't see you. And it's if you're looking for that kind of system, then I believe I found a way to think about it that makes it so that you just have one conveyor, and it's not even a list. There's not even a list in it. So it's super quick to set up when you've learned them on the bench with enough scrap. You can just start deploying, bing, 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 and then put a bunch of these tops on each of your box. Let's look at the boxes real quick. We have, this is a manual box, so personally I like to put things in it manually. You know, extra solar panel, make extra garage doors, make myself a extra cooking workbench because I like to cook. Medium batteries need a tier 2. So it's a bunch of things that usually needs a tier 2. And slash making another base type stuff. Now these boxes, you know, I like to have my components box here. It's close to my workbench. A lot of people will have their cloth, their low grade fuel, their scrap, and all that stuff outside the TC into one of these boxes. You can have a boom box, so a box dedicated for boom and your sulfur and all that jazz. It's really like a personal thing. Then I also personally like a seeds box and a tools box, which we will double as a drop box. So as you take your tools, or if you're done with your tools, you can also drop all your ore, things you've collected, and it'll act as a drop box here. And just a simple place. I like to have a big freezer, but again, separating the seeds. You could separate the clones. So that's really a personal thing. You can remove things you never grow, things that don't need to be here. And have a big fridge. Furnace, by the way. I like not only to be able to activate it, but also have a timer on it. That way, if I forget about it, it will close by itself. And it won't use all the electricity in here because right now it's at 9 instead of 6. And this one we can turn on, and it will not use all the wood in the TC because the TC doesn't have an out. Again, you gotta be careful. If you put an out, then it could come back into the system. But we'll get to why there's an out there. It's because the out there leads to a box that doesn't have an out. For example, this one here proposes this one, and this one is the locker, and the locker doesn't have an out. Alright. But nobody can take from the TC. So let's see how that works. First, this module doesn't need to be here. We can remove it entirely. And we notice that first there is a combiner, and then a conveyor, and then a splitter. And that's gotta be the simplest system ever, right? Like, really, when you start, you start with that. I'm glad that it's literally like system A, right? The system that everybody makes. But the reason I put this here in between the two, I'll put it here for now, is because everything that wants to come back to the system, which is what the combiner is for. Combiner takes everything that wants to give to the system. So all the boxes that are ready to give, I like to be able to split that into not only a system that wants to give everything possible to all the boxes, like the TC will take everything possible, the furnace will take everything possible, from the drop box, especially the drop box, but also any other boxes that are connected to it. But that might not be the only conveyor that you want to set up. So if I set up, for example, another conveyor for my locker specifically with more specific lists that also power the crafter, then I want to take not from after my system, because the push here will be pushing into boxes something specific from this conveyor. So that's often where the first problem arises for most people who do industrial, is that they connect something like this. And they don't quite understand why this is not pulling anything. They think, well, I'm asking to take from my system. But that's where this here is pushing into a box, so it's not able to push into this. So this guy here needs to take from what I call a master system, or a master storage availability, which instead happens to be this guy. And now we can see the distinction as multiple systems take from all possible boxes that are willing to provide into the system. Okay, so I'm going to use some diagrams now. And we're just going to remove this for now, if that's all right. And then later maybe we set up a locker. Okay, so very simple system, doesn't cost too much in metal. You need a lot of scrap to be able to learn it on the technical workbench. So let's look at the system now, the way that we have. How does that work? Okay. So first we're gonna define into three different types of boxes. We have boxes that give only. We have boxes that give all and take all. And then we have boxes that take only. And so the boxes that give only, let's say this is the in and the out, they will use the in, but not, no, I'm sorry. Can I go back up there? If you give only, you use the out only, because you only give. If you give and you take, you will use both of those. And if you take only, then you will only have an in, you will not have an out. So for example, boxes that take only, we would put the TC in there. Because you don't want to put an out on your TC. You're going to come back to your base, it's going to be crumbled because it took all the stone and put it into a box. Which other box you want to take only? Take from the system and not give anything away from your box. Let's look at. Let's assess our box, and that's where the work has to come, right? So let's see. Well, what about the components box, right? Does it take only, or give, or does it take and give? Does it want to take and give? And these are good questions. So this box here, you don't want to give necessarily your components to another box because you don't want to have to search for them. So a priori, this would be a box that you would only take. You would take from the drop box and you would put it here. Now we do notice that we can make gunpowder with the crafter. So it will become, at a later point, a box that can give. But when you first set up your base, it'll be a box that only takes. It only takes from the furnaces, your sulfur, your charcoal, your gunpowder, and all your components. And it's not gonna give anything. The part where it's gonna give is when you set up a second autocrafter for, or a second conveyor for specific utilities, like the autocrafter / locker. So this components box will also be a box that only takes. Let's take a look at, I don't know if you have a boom box, you would do the same thing. A boom box would only take, right? Or if you have a meds box, yeah, so meds box is one. It would only take, it wouldn't give. But again, the meds box might give again to another. So as long as you make that distinction, so let's do meds. Let's do boom. Right? So for example, all of these can then be linked together and not have not have an out at first. They will have an out into a second system for crafting or for lockers. But they will never, I repeat, they will never come back to the primary source, the primary master distribution. That's where you fuck up your TC. That's where you see your components box become everything but that. Oops. Please allow me to... Fantastic. I've done this before. Bro. Alright, we're back. Yeah, so I was saying that you could have... So all of these things are take only. They only take. But you might want to set up some of these boxes, like the TC, the components, the meds box, to fill, let's say, another system, like the locker. Or the auto crafter. Wow. Auto. You try to write with a mouse. Rafter. Right. And so those don't, they have an out, but the out will never be back to our main system. Because that's how you screw up with your TC and other things. Whereas the boombox, for example, it takes only into the boombox, but you don't necessarily want that system plugged. Or maybe it doesn't matter, but basically it doesn't need to have an out. Like these will have an in and an out on a second degree. Right? Put a star on it. Oh. But the boombox will remain maybe just an in without any out. Right? So this will be like a second system. So the idea here is those that give only will plug here. Again, we have the splitter or the combiner, and then here we have our splitter. Right, and if you take, oh please don't. If you have boxes that give and take, like for example, which of these boxes that would be? The fridge here can give and take. It takes all the fruits, if else your fruits are not going to be cold. But it also wants to give personally to a seed box. So it does have to return to the main system. But we could also have it go into the locker and put some pumpkins in here, for example. Or maybe you like your pumpkins to go into a vending machine where now it's refrigerated. So in order to do that, we would have a splitter on the out here. And it would not only give it back to the main system, but would also go into a second system. Like so. And that's why we need to make categories here. Because the fridge wants to go on the first layer of give, but also maybe the second layer. But which other boxes wants to do that? Give and take. Well, the furnaces, they want to take and they want to give, right? But do we need them to give back to the locker? No. Do we need them to give back to the crafter? Yes. We could put some metal here so we can make Iokas or other things. But it can also come here into the TC, and then the TC is the one to give the material. And that's fine because we probably need cloth in there. We probably need maybe fuel or other wood. So the furnaces themselves, they would not necessarily be part of the same bunch. And the way I say the bunch is, you've noticed I link them together, and that's truly what we do. Also, we just link them one after the other. So let's remove this, just kind of give you a quick example. Just after we kind of finish on this side. Which one gives only? Drop bar. Any other that only give, that don't take? Only give. You would only give. I don't think so. I don't think so. So if there would be more, let's unplug this. If there would be more of drop boxes, so let's say you have a drop box over there, you would plug the, let's review this, the out only. You would never have also an in from the system. Because they only want to give, they don't need to take anything from our system. So the drop box will come here into our system. And now we're also going to plug these. Let me just unplug all of it, just to show you just how intuitive it is, really. Because it really is once you get it. Alright, starting over. Like, it's no joke. You got your system set up, no list. Plug this. Plug this. So what does this say? So this says the drop box is gonna have an out that will come into, that will give, right, to the system. So let's do that. Drop box gives into the system. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Well, we have boxes that give and take. So let's keep going with the idea of giving. So which box do we want to give? And this time we're not plugging the drop box with anything else, because like I said, if we would say I want to plug it like this, and I'm going to plug it like this, the problem is that we're going to end up with a system that says, oh wait, I need my ore, let me take it and then plug it, and now all of a sudden you're you're in trouble because your boxes start pulling everything that it shouldn't. Right. Oh, relax. Just put it back. Look at it work. Alright, we're gonna fix that. So that's why this thing, there needs to be these distinctions. These distinctions is what makes the system work. It's a different way to think about conveyors. Alright, so Dropbox, give only. Gotcha. Fridge. Fridge. I'm trying to make it clean. Fridge is a give and take. Right? So it's gonna try to give. Okay, fridge gives. Gotcha. What other boxes give? But it also takes. Ah, okay. It takes. So you gotta give it. There you go. So now it's giving and taking. Fantastic. And it's cleaning this box, by the way. Putting it all here. Most beautiful thing. Most beautiful. Here you see you can drop your farm or your farming and it's gonna take it. So I love the Dropbox for that. It just goes through the system. So here we've set up this correctly. And we're not gonna think about another system for now. We would do the same thing with these. Right, so they need to take from the system and then give back to the system. Simple. And I can see a lot of players putting more conveyors, being like, oh shit, I need much more splitters now. But the truth is you can link these together. So this gives and takes, this gives and takes, this gives and takes. You can just link them all together. Ta-da! Blocks. So that way it takes in here, takes and gives, takes and gives, takes and gives. And then of course there are the boxes that only take TC components, meds, boom, etc. So these will not plug back here. They will only take from the system everything they can, like the TC. Then we plug it to components box. What else? We have a seeds box. No. And which other box? We can do the locker if we just want to have a rudimentary kind of push everything / possible into the locker. So for example, if we drop stuff here, you know, it's going to try to push everything that it can. And at least it's taking some of that storage availability, freeing up your Dropbox. If like me, you like a minimalist style and you have a small Dropbox. We could tell it, don't take the tools, for example. You know, everything but tools. Everything but water container, because I don't like them all going here. They could stay here. And so that way boom. You know, and it's not perfect, but it's a good start. And then if you end up with a bunch of clothes here, one quick way to do your clothes is simply to start with a headpiece or any piece, and then you keep going, and you'll notice that it's not going there, or it's going there if it's available. Then manually set that up here, and that frees up. It freed up a lot of room, you know, in your box. So we just set it up. You saw it. It didn't take very long. Again, we have boxes that only give, like the drop box. We have boxes that give and take, like the fridge, because we have a seeds box. And we would like it to take from the fridge, the furnace. So some important aspects, as you can see, of these boxes here, especially the ones that only take, is if they're not limited, like the TC, to only what it can take, you have to limit it yourself. So for example here, I'm going to pre-populate those. Right? You're faster than me, system. I'm going to pre-populate those. Like that. Like that. Anything missing? Green? I'm going to pre-populate those so that when my system, if I would drop the seeds, say in here, we will notice that they first come into the fridge, but then they end up here into the box. And same is true for the components box, because it can take anything. Right, and so we will pre-populate it, or else it's going to put any kind of crap in it. So at first we do put all kinds of crap, or you know, that's why these are placeholders, right? There you go. That's good. Here we notice the timer ended on the furnace. And then if you are done with your farming, you drop all your stuff. All of these will now go to the correct slot that's pre-populated for them. It's coming in here with the gunpowder. Slowly but surely. We can do the same here with honey if we want. It's really your choice. You know what you pre-populate your boxes with. You can have a boom box done like that. You can have a meds box. Although the meds box is a bit tough because it's only meds. So I prefer to do meds differently. Like you're gonna make meds and then you're gonna push it to the locker instead. Yeah, so that's how I would set up the system. One conveyor for all of them. We're using the different limits of the system to do that. And if we want to set up, say, a locker system, really quickly, what would you like in your locker? So your specific weapon, your specific ammo. We're gonna max it out to 1. Do syringe. 3 bandage. And wooden. Oh yeah. Aids. And so now we have to split the main system intake into our master system provider. Now we have 2 taking from the same. And personally, if I copy this, by the way, for your list, you can press Shift, copy into JSON into a text file, and paste later also. So we're gonna make a small adjustment here. We're gonna take the combiner and we're gonna combine some of these ideas here. For example, the TC comp meds, the fridge as well. But not the furnace, not the boombox, not any other boxes. So because we have a few and they don't have the same property, that means they'll be in different, they won't be all connected together, right? Like the fridge is not connected to the TC. So now we're gonna take this but we also want to take the fridge, but the fridge can't not be on the first one because we need it for the seeds box, which is powered by the master transfer. So we need another splitter for the fridge to make the fridge available to our second system. That's if you really want like food, but I like food. You know, I like food in my locker. I'd probably put a food that isn't like bad anymore. I'll put it here for now, just for visual. Come back here, and come back here. Okay, well that's very nice for the fridge, but the problem is the fridge is connected to these, and I don't think that's a big issue though, you know, because it's just like materials. We are still providing like let's say sulfur, for example. Sulfur is still going through the main system and being pushed into our boombox. So I don't see that as being a problem, because this one is going to be restricted. You know, it's going to have a specific list of things. So for simplicity's sake, this is enough. You could also, for example, have the fridge. No, the fridge has to give. If you want pumpkins in your locker with food, what else could you give yourself? I don't know, honey maybe? Maybe you give yourself honey, right? That way you can munch on something while you get ready. Maybe you give yourself mushrooms, is very alpha fucking shit. Or a pork pie with some teas. Right, so I can see the benefit of that. And in that sense, you have no choice. If you have a seeds box, it has to come to the first, and then if you want to give yourself pies and stuff, it has to go to the second. So you need this box here. But let's say you're not, I don't know, you don't have a seeds box. Then this would simply link here. But that's a problem, because now your furnaces are not giving your main system the ore that is being processed. And in that sense, your furnaces would plug here, and your fridge would not be part of them. Right? We look back at this here. The fridge, if you don't have a first box, then it would not be part of the furnace, because the furnace has to stay on the first and it doesn't go to the second. So here we have this separation between the two in this concept. Does that make sense? Because the fridge is trying to go to the locker in this example. Okay. Well, can you back up? And but I have a seeds box. So I prefer this. Okay. So I hope that it's you know, it was pleasant to see that all of this can be done with just one of them. And that the TC is not in jeopardy, and you can make really your own boxes of stuff, given that they can stack. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be a very, very simple system that is very efficient for you, that takes stuff from your drop box and just sends it everywhere for one conveyor. So I hope that you've enjoyed this this little treat of a system. I'm glad that I worked on this for some time and found a simple way to make it. So again, we'll be looking at other systems. And the continuation of this, which would be in the locker system. So thank you for your time, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Let me know how you set up your system, what kind of boxes you're looking for, or if you're having any difficulties with your system. What kind of other boxes that you're setting up. with this simple system. All right, you have a good day.